Good day, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we have with us Sohaib Aslam. He's been here for the last 3, 4 years. He's been navigating around, moving around in the country in regards to his profession. So anyway, without having me to introduce him any further, I will give him the opportunity to. Sohaib, if you can get started by telling us a little bit about yourself first.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sohaib Aslam. I come from Pakistan, like many of you can imagine. I have a rather unique situation in being a Pakistani that has lived the least amount of time in Pakistan and most amount of time in other countries. I spent about 25 years in UAE. I grew up in Abu Dhabi and then eventually went back to Dubai for my essentially job purposes. I worked with Emirates Airlines for about 11 years before coming to Canada. I came to Canada somewhere in 2017, and ever since coming here, I've been contracting.
And so I believe you landed in Toronto, right? And then what's your journey been since then?
That's right. So after having lived in Dubai, my dream or my ideal living setting was really in and around Toronto, Mississauga, Milton. I came to Milton originally, and I wanted to settle down there, but as life takes you across, many different journeys in Canada specifically, I ended up moving to Montreal, working up a very good opportunity with Canadian National Railways in the ITSM domain. They had embarked on a very large scale program, an ambitious $400 million program for a train safety project. ITSM was just a part of it. So I was fortunate enough to work with them for about a couple of years before the contract was, sort of cut short. And this is basically just an indicator of how things can look good initially, but they can, pan out differently than originally thought.
So your transition from Toronto to Montreal, what was the cultural differences, or what kind of situation did you come across? Were you able to find English schools in Montreal for your children, or how did that pan about?
Yeah, okay. So one of the things I think it should serve as a sort of a forewarning to people who may have aspirations to move to Montreal. Montreal is a great city. I love the city. Personally speaking, my wife thinks otherwise. My family thinks otherwise, but I personally love the city. I love the vibe, and I'm talking everything pre-COVID, right? I love the vibrancy in the city. I love the sort of openness in social interactions. Uh, Me as an immigrant, I'm not automatically entitled to send my kids to English school here, unless unless my kids have spent a substantial time of their education in an English school system in Canada. So a word of caution for those fresh immigrants who have kids and who might have English speaking needs for their children and looking to move to Montreal. This is one of the major hurdles.
Mm. Um, in terms of, you mentioned about ITSM, and you've had a lot of experience with ITSM, and you're an ITL expert as well. Um, what do you see as the future of ITSM in the industry right now? I think with the whole new 4.0 that came about, what is the transition all about? So, what is your thoughts?
So I started off. I've been in the IT industry since 2001. That's when my first job was. I began my ITSM journey somewhere in 2006 when I joined Emirates Airlines, and they were embarking on a reorganization based on ITIL principles. Um, so I've been in the ITSM arena for about 15 years now. We started off very early. I think it's one of the earliest adoption or implementation of ITSM back in 2006. We were essentially modeled after ITIL V2, and then the upgrade came to ITIL V3. Um, the future of ITSM is tricky. I think much of what ERP has done for SAP, ServiceNow is doing for ITSM. For me, it's because I have many personal contacts in the SAP industry. I understand the dynamics that are very similar to what ServiceNow is doing in the ITSM arena. But eventually, there is going to be saturation because ITSM is essentially it's not a breadwinner. It's not a It's a nice to have solution for companies often with deeper pockets, and especially in the ServiceNow or Micro Focus or HPSM as we previously knew. These are expensive solutions that not every organization can afford to have. That's one side of the argument, but the other side is yes, so which also means that the jobs will always be there in these larger organizations. That's true, but with the advent of cloud and the overall differences, or I would say evolution in approaches to understanding the value system around ITSM, I think priorities are going to change. So this is not a very long term, uh, which is true for any discipline in IT though. This is not a very long term industry as far as I see.
Interesting thoughts. Thank you so much for sharing that. One last question for you, Sohaib, is that for those people who are planning to move to Canada, since you've been a recent immigrant in the sense that you came to 2017, it's been only 4 years. What is your advice as to how should they position themselves before moving to Canada and after moving to Canada as well?
Anybody who's already made their mind about moving to Canada, I would ask them to do a double take, evaluate themselves very well. Where are they currently? What does it offer? I came from Dubai. In many ways, uh, arguably so, and I know people may disagree with me, but in many ways, for me, the experience of coming to Canada was a slight downgrade than what I already had in Dubai. But one side of the argument is nothing lasts forever in Dubai, but nothing lasts forever in the world, anyways. So there's a bit of arguments on both sides of the debate. I would definitely stress on updating yourselves, especially in the IT industry, because essentially this market is essentially very very skill centered, and I think that is what partially forms the utopia for many of the IT professionals, that you are evaluated and you are paid and remunerated, and you get opportunities based on your skills alone, rather than anything else, such as where do you come from. It's a non-discriminatory job market. It's a non-discriminatory society in general. So I would say update yourself. Uh, enhance your skills with what already you have, improve your communication skills and stuff. I think this market is ripe for opportunities.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sohaib, for taking the time out today and talking to us, to the audience, about your experiences here in Montreal and your ITSM experience, and for guidance for the future for folks who are planning to move to Canada. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I wish everybody all the best. May you get the best of your opportunities.